Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Federal Reserve System's Econnections webinar for spring 2022. My name is Graham Long, and I'm Associate Director of Economic Education at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Fed's Classroom's Econnections webinar series allows educators from across the country to connect with economic education experts and personal finance experts from around the Federal Reserve System to learn about resources and to discuss content for your classrooms. The session topics vary and are of interest to K-12 educators, and all of the resources that you're going to find out about today are free. Today's presenters are from across the Federal Reserve System, and the focus for today is on free tools and resources for teaching about financial literacy. Before we begin, one thing that I do want to stress on behalf of all of the presenters is that the views expressed are those of the speaker and do not represent the views of the Federal Reserve Banks of New York, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and St. Louis, or the Federal Reserve System. So with that in mind, I'm going to throw it over to our first presenter from the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland to get us started. Take it away, Zan.
Thanks, Graham. So as he said, my name is Alexandria, or Zan, and I work at the Cleveland Fed in our Education and Museum Outreach Department. And today I'm just going to talk about a couple of resources that you can use from the Cleveland Fed to teach students about financial literacy. So if you want to go to the next slide. So the first few resources that I'm going to share will be some of our online games. So this first one is called Escape from the Barter Islands. It is available in both English and Spanish. You can find it in both the Play Store as well as the Apple App Store. And basically what this is it's going to teach students about the concept of bartering and the importance of having a common currency. So students are going to be in the character of Robbie, and they're trying to help him, fix his sail and sail home. So they'll go to the different islands and they'll have to make different trades. And along the way, they're going to learn about different ideas or concepts around bartering. So this is probably best suited for our younger audiences in elementary school. So if you want to go to the next one. The next app we have, I would say this one is going to be for our older elementary students or middle school. It's called the Save and Spend Challenge. So in this game, students will get to pick an avatar. They will also get to pick a career and a savings goal. They're then going to go through and look at their different budgets. So they'll get an income. It will tell them how much their expenses are going to be for housing or for food. Maybe they have a car payment or a credit card bill. And then they'll have a certain amount of money left over that they'll get to decide how they want to spend. So are they going to put it towards movies or eating out or saving or maybe donating it? And then it will simulate a 3-year challenge, basically, where it'll go through and inform the students about how they're doing, whether or not they're meeting their saving goal, and they can always adjust their spending habits. And then at the end, it gives them some tips and resources about how they can learn more on budgeting. Let's go to the next slide. And this is just an example from the game of what it looks like. So you can see the different avatars we have available. And then, like I said, the students will get an income for their career that they've chosen. They'll get a certain set of expenses or bills that they'll have to pay. And then they'll have some money left over where they'll get to choose what they want to spend it on. And as you can see from this screenshot, they can choose from, eating out, buying a game, giving to charity, going for a walk, and then they've also got a time frame. So is this going to be a daily expense, a weekly expense, or monthly? And then, of course, it's going to tell them how they're doing in achieving their savings goal. Next slide. So another online app that we have is called Great Minds Think. This is also available in English and Spanish. You can actually just download it onto your phone and it will function like an app, or you can access it through your web browser or a tablet. It pretty much works on any device. But essentially what this game is it's going to teach students about a lot of different personal finance concepts. So you have this character, Monty, the money tree squirrel, who's going to be your money expert. And he's helping Alex reach his savings goal, which is saving for a bike. And I think if you go to the next slide, got some different screenshots. So there's different topics that the students will navigate through. There's making smart financial choices, earning, spending, budgeting. And then we have a section that's about activities, which reviews a lot of the vocab and terms that students are going to learn throughout the game. So as they navigate through these sections, they'll be introduced to different terms. They'll get to practice the concepts. So you can see here, students will be working on a practice budget for Alex. They're also going to be drawing some of their savings goals. They'll be doing like matching vocab words. So lots of different interactivity within this game. Go to the next slide. This is also available as a publication in both English and Spanish. So you can order this from federalreserveeducation.org, or you can access it through our website where you can download a PDF or order it as well. So it works very similar to the game where it's going to have different avatars teaching students about these concepts around earning, saving, budgeting, and more. There's also vocab games, there's a crossword, there's different tips. So essentially it's the same content you'll get in the app, but just in a publication format. Go to the next slide. And then if you go onto our website, you'll notice that we have some extension lesson plans that go along with this. So building on those vocabulary terms and concepts that students are introduced within the Great Minds Think booklet, as well as the app. So we've got some vocab quizzes. There's also a lesson plan, which you can use that walks you through the different modules in the app or in the activity book, and then gives extensions or some differentiation suggestions for how you can build off of that. It also gives some supplemental ideas as well. Go to the next slide. Something else that you can find on our website, which I think is really good for financial literacy or personal finance concepts, we have these logic puzzles. So students will get to go in, it's sort of like they'll get a math or a story problem, and then they'll have to go through and make different financial decisions based on the information that they're given. We have these for different age ranges, so you can find them for both elementary and middle school, and we do include answer keys with all the logicals for the educators who might need them. Go to the next slide, Graham. So virtual tours. So in addition to our in-person tours, we also do virtual programming. It's all standards aligned. It's available for K through 12, and we have several that are focused around personal finance topics. So as you can see listed here, we've got budgeting, investing, credit cards, earning and saving, and then of course, smart financial decision making. And most of these are available for any age range. Of course, we do cater it based on the group the grade and the age that we're getting. If you want to schedule a tour, you can just go on to our website and you can use our tour tool. Next slide. And then if you can't visit us, if you're not located in Cleveland, we do have a new virtual exhibit app that we've just launched. You can go on there and you can look at our different exhibits, and we've got activities that are linked with them. So if you go to the next slide, Graham, I have a screenshot here that shows you some of what we have. So there's cash operations. We've got our cybersecurity. There's things on central bank digital currency, history of the Federal Reserve System. Obviously, as you can see here, this is from our cash operations virtual exhibit tour. So we've got a lot on anti-counterfeiting. We also have a video on our cash processing process and what that looks like. So I would definitely go on and check it out. Everything we have is free for you. There's no fees for any of our tours or our programs. And as I mentioned, you can order as many of the Great Minds Think booklet as you would like for your classroom. Thanks. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Todd.
Hey, thanks so much, Zan. Very cool. It's so great to see all the different resources and different materials that the Cleveland Fed, puts out for educators across the United States and in their district. So thanks again for sharing. I appreciate that. So my name is Todd Zartman. I'm from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. Today, I'll introduce to you some financial education resources and trainings that we have at the Philadelphia Fed. And then I'll also, on behalf of my colleagues at the Richmond Fed, share some of their materials and resources that they have available free of charge to educators across the United States. And last but not least, I'll also share some U.S. currency education program materials from my colleagues down at the Board of Governors and some of the work that I did with them during the pandemic, as far as providing some different things for educators to use in their classroom and to use virtually. Graham, next slide. So I want to start out with, are you looking to teach financial education or literacy at the high school level? Hopefully, I think if you are, I have something for you. Are you starting from scratch, or do you already have to teach, already have a financial literacy course to teach? I'll talk a little bit about how we have the flexibility to provide you with something that if you need to start from scratch, you can get up and running real well. Or if you're already teaching a financial literacy course, we have materials that'll fold in real well with what you're already using. Keys to Financial Success is the name of the course from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia and curriculum that we came up with. It's a solution for both requirements, whether you're starting from scratch or whether you already have a course. And then we also provide professional development training, the training necessary for you to teach the curriculum and feel confident with the curriculum. It's really a capstone course for use at the high school level. It's flexible and adaptable, like I've mentioned, and being used now mostly in 12th grade, but certainly being used in some freshman classes, sophomore, and then junior class type activities as far as at the high school level. Graham, next slide. So what is Keys to Financial Success? Keys to Financial Success is a complete course plan for teaching personal finance to high school students. It is composed of 47 lessons designed to help you teach your students about personal finance, and it uses active and collaborative learning. Next slide, Graham. We draw upon some time and proven materials. In this case, we draw from the Council for Economic Education curriculum, a couple different curriculums from those folks. And then we also created our own lessons and materials to build or complete the framework for a robust personal finance course. And we'll certainly also have different materials from other feds in this course also. So again, it's a very well-rounded curriculum and course, and you can use it to supplement what you're already doing, or again, like I said, start from scratch. Two of the things I mentioned, again, that are not a problem, is we've been doing this for over 15 years and it's changed over time. So again, it has that flexibility. So when something like identity theft comes along, we've now included some information on identity theft. So as the personal finance arena changes, this curriculum also changes over time, and we update it and then provide it with the folks that have gone through the training. Training is a very key aspect in making you feel more comfortable in delivering the curriculum. We know personal finance can be a little hairy at times with your students, and they'll have a lot of different questions and things will come up that maybe even you're not sure of yourself. So again, the training aspect will give you that sound foundation for you to deliver personal finance content to your students in a kind of a unique way though. So there is obviously a lot of different materials out there on personal finance. We have grounded this curriculum in the economic way of thinking. We're approaching personal finance from an economic standpoint. In other words, scarce resources and making sound decisions with those resources. Like I mentioned earlier, we constantly update and make the curriculum more relevant for the classroom each school year. And then we provide updated training, whether it be virtually, online, or in person here in Philadelphia, for folks to come to and feel like they've gotten kind of a refresher course in Keys. It's being successfully used in classrooms across the United States, state of Washington, the state of Nevada, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and other different places also. Next slide, Graham. So Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, like I mentioned, I have these three different areas I'm going to cover today. The first one being our materials. And so if you want to learn more about the Keys to Financial Success personal finance curriculum and training, go to our website, philadelphiafed.org/keys. And then we also have our educational website where we have other lesson plans that focus on economics and children's literature, personal finance and children's literature, entrepreneurship, children's literature. And so we do provide a wide variety of K through 12 resources for folks to kind of check out on our website. And again, you can always reach out to me by contacting me through email in order to find out more about our resources and then other Reserve Bank resources. Next slide, Graham. I want to shift gears now and switch over to the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond. My colleagues there had asked me to do a quick presentation or a couple slides on some materials and resources that they have available for you free of charge. And so again, if you're looking for age or grade appropriate resources for teaching financial education or financial literacy, The folks in Richmond have those for you. The economic education team at the Richmond Fed provides resources and programs for teaching economics, personal finance, and the Federal Reserve, a little bit about the Federal Reserve, to elementary, middle school, and high school students. My Money is one of the resources. It's an educational workbook for students in elementary school. Topics include money, coin equivalents, jobs, goods, services, and barter. So again, if you're looking to teach about those economic concepts, My Money might be a good answer for you. And it's also available in Spanish, which is a great resource to have for folks that need to deal with English as second language students. Dollars and Cents is a budgeting game that they've created for middle and high school students. Students select a lifestyle and a budget for expenses, and then unexpected events come up, and they have to kind of tweak that budget and understand how that budget may fall short, or actually might be right on track. And so it's kind of a neat way to teach budgeting, or kind of a real life experience way of teaching budgeting, and that the folks at the Richmond Fed have created. And it has a very neat resource handout that they'll send to you free of charge. Next slide, Graham. So here's a quick kind of picture or visual of the early elementary workbook, My Money, and you can see that. And then there's also a QR code there that, if you have the ability to do that, capture that with your phone, it'll take you right to their website, and you can order that. Again, that material free of charge from the Richmond Fed's website, and again, it is free of charge, and you'll get them in classroom sets, so you'll have enough for every classroom that you're using or teaching with those students. Next slide, Graham. Here's the Dollar and Cents resource that I was talking to you about, or trying to explain to you. Here's a visual of it, so you can see, watch your expense, and you can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse as to how it works, how they work their way through these life events and kind of these unexpected events, and then how they have to modify their budget and keep track of their budget. And again, there's a QR code. Again, capture that, reach out to the Richmond Fed website, order in classroom sets, and have them sent to you free of charge. Again, really nice that all our Federal Reserve resources are free of charge. Next slide, Graham. So again, here's a little bit of a wrap up on the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond. All the resources are free, and you can either order them online, or you can download them from their website in PDF format. There's their web address. And again, they also have a publication request site. So you can put in how many that you're looking for, your return address, and then have them sent to you free of charge. There's a contact form. Should you have any questions for the folks at the Richmond Fed, their economic education team, you can leave those questions there on the contact form at their website, and then they'll get back to you directly. Next slide. And last but not least, I want to definitely highlight some of the work that the U.S. Currency Education Program group down at the Board of Governors in Washington, D.C. is doing. They have really spearheaded some great work over the pandemic here to try to get out to educators some different resources that you can use to do a couple different things. So one of the things that I think we often talk about is, with students, is money. And so we want students to understand what makes a good money. And when I say that, we're going to talk a little bit or focus in on, they're going to focus in a little bit at the U.S. Currency Education Program on characteristics and functions of money, and then the security features in money, what makes a good money. The U.S. Currency Education Program can help you. Again, all their resources are also free of charge. They have a wealth of online resources for educators, and it's growing. And so I wanted to highlight that. And then the CEP is kind of, to give you a little bit of a background on the CEP, they're kind of tasked with ensuring that users of U.S. currency, and this is around the world, not just in the United States, have access to education, training, and information about the Federal Reserve and about the money Federal Reserve notes that are being used. And so it's kind of interesting. It's managed by the Federal Reserve Board. And the CEP obviously works closely with our government partners at the U.S. Secret Service when it comes to the security features and how to tell a counterfeit, that kind of thing. And then they also work very closely with the U.S. Department of Treasury, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, to tell their story as to how we have gotten to the Federal Reserve notes that we currently use. So again, they're going to focus in on a little bit of the design and security features in the current U.S. Currency, and then how things have changed over time. Next slide, Graham. So what does the CEP, though, provide directly for educators, in this case, elementary educators? They have what's called Carnival Thrills and Dollar Bills. And so it's a kind of a neat and engaging classroom activity where you're kind of going to go on a field trip without ever leaving the classroom. It's a booklet that talks about money, how it functions, what it does, and then also the security features that are in current money. And so this is obviously gauged for elementary students. You can read the story to the students, or you can order a copy, a hard copy of the actual booklet, the story itself, and have it sent out to you. And again, multiple copies. And what's nice is each student then could leave your classroom with that book, take it home, share it with their parents, or share it with anyone at home. And so what's really nice about that is you can actually download it online, or you can actually order the physical copy of the book. And then they have lesson plans and lesson activities that go along with this that are appropriate for the elementary school age students. And again, reach out to their website. Again, contact me if you can't find the order page or whatever it might be. I certainly can steer you in the right direction for ordering these copies of the book and have them sent out to you free of charge. Next slide, Graham. They also have some really neat things as far as middle school resources. And so we don't want to forget our folks at the middle school level. Sometimes we often talk about the elementary school level and then the high school level, and sometimes we leave out the middle school level, but not in this case. So they have what's called Cache Code Breakers. It's an online virtual escape room that you can work with your students virtually on the computer, and it can be one-to-one or in groups. Where the students are going to be trapped virtually in an escape room, and they're going to have to use their knowledge of algebra and also security features and design features that are in current US currency in order to escape from that room. So it's a really neat mixture of this multidisciplinary approach of using mathematics and then also teaching students a little bit about money, those design and security features, in a fun way to get out of an escape room, which everybody kind of has this, knows this idea of an escape room. And in this case, it's virtually. So next slide, Graham. I just mentioned that it's multidisciplinary, so that I think that's a neat approach. I help work with them on that. And so again, incorporating math and then a little bit about money. So again, teaching them a little bit about math and then also incorporating or getting them to learn a little bit more about money. So again, there's just a recap of Carnival Thrills and Dollar Bills, a fully illustrated book that introduces first to third grade students roughly about the unique features of Federal Reserve notes. And Graham, if you want to jump to the next slide. Here are the contact or the information on the US Currency Education Program. All their resources are also free, and you can either download them or order them online. There's their web address. And again, if you have any issues as far as web addresses changing or something like that, don't hesitate to reach out to me by email, and I can point you in the right direction to get these materials, or at least get online to be able to use them online as far as the virtual escape room goes. Next slide, Graham. I also wanted to take a moment just to thank everyone so much for the work they do day in and day out with your students. As a former educator, or classroom educator, I know how hard the job is and how hard it's been, obviously, through these kind of interesting times that we've all gone through. My colleagues and I are really honored to support your efforts, and we're here for you. Next slide, Graham. Last but not least, again, don't hesitate to send me your questions. There's my email address, todd.zartman@phil.frb.org, and I'm from the Philadelphia Fed. Next slide. So next, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend, Chris Bertelson from the Little Rock, Arkansas branch of the St. Louis Fed. And Chris, take it away, buddy.
All right, thank you very much, Todd. Turn my video on here just for a moment as I introduce myself. I'd like to echo what Todd has said about reaching me for questions, and I've got my email address right here at the front. So if you need to get a hold of me, that's how you do it. Similar emails, chris.a.bertelson@stls.frb.org. Lots of great resources here today. I'm really grateful to be part of this group and to actually house a lot of these other banks' resources on our websites as well. So I'll get into that here in a minute. Graham, if you would advance the next slide for me, please. And I am going to turn my video off so you can, so I can be more sure that I have enough bandwidth to get through the presentation. Technology is great, but you just never know. Before I get started on my resource presentation, I just wanted to take a moment to address a bit of a follow-up on what Todd had said regarding the work that you do. Education matters for outcomes. And Graham, if you click that again, there might be a title to that. There we go. And education matters for outcomes, and teachers matter for education, obviously. And so I always like to share this slide. This is from the Council on Economic Education. Some research showing pre and post financial education mandates in 3 states, Georgia, Texas, and Idaho, and how credit scores changed over time from pre and post course requirements. So we'll just look at Georgia there. Credit scores before mandates were 612, after were 629. I don't know about you, but my experience has been that it's easier to go from 629 to 612 than it is to go to 612, from 612 to 629. So what that's telling us is that what you do in the classroom matters. And so we appreciate that work you're doing, and ask that you continue it, and let us know if we can be of any assistance as you prepare your coursework and curriculum materials. Graham, if you could go to the next slide for me. So what we're gonna focus on here today is our redesign of our website, number one, and then I'm going to drill down just a bit into some resources for financial education, particularly financial literacy month, and how we might be able to assist you with resources. So this is our redesigned website, and Graham, if you'd go to the next slide or click that again, you'll see the Teachers and Students tab, under which you'll see a number of options, selecting resources, how we can help, things like that. What we're really gonna look at today are resources within our teacher portal. But if you could go to the next slide for me, Graham, I just want to show how you can filter. And if you look on the left side of the screen there, you'll see we can filter by subject, grade level, which I have chosen 6-8 and 9-12. Of course, you can choose the others as well. But we have around 500 resources that are behind our portal that are one-to-one or hybrid ready materials. That's where we're going to focus today. But where this website is right now, it will have paper lesson plans, PowerPoints, handouts, things like that, that you can access by using the sort and filter functions, as well as the text box. One thing I'd like to point out, on the right-hand side, you'll see it says sort by most recent. That tab can be changed to relevance. So if you were looking, for example, you wanted to find something on interest rates, if you typed in interest and had it most recent, you'd get the most recent references to interest. If you turned it to relevance on that drop down, then you would get anything relevant to interest rates within the parameters you selected on the left. So just as just know that that's available. Behind that are all of our, what I like to call, paper lesson plans, those that we use in the classroom with students in the room. Where we're going to emphasize today, again, are the resources that you can use when students are not in the room, or in the room with their own device. So Graham, if you could go over to the next slide. The green box here over on the right with the other green box around it, that is our Econ Lowdown teacher portal, and you can actually watch a tutorial on how to use it, or you can email me. That's also an option, and I'm happy to walk you through this process. But what we would do here, if the website was live, is we'd click on that, and then Graham's going to take us to the next slide, which gives us this instructor login over on the right. And if you have your email and password already, you would just enter it and click login. And if not, you would register for a free account. Creating that free account is really pretty painless. It's just a couple of questions about your school, some demographic information that we collect, and then you would find your school from a list, and if it's not on the list, you add it. And once you've done that, we are able to set up your account. So Graham, if you could go to the next slide for me. Right there, good. So once you've logged in, created your account and logged in the first time, you can there we go. You can go back through and change the password. The other thing I'd like to emphasize here is you'll notice the Canvas portal on the right, not portal, I apologize. It's a Canvas compatibility that we can do. And I always like to say, you know, you have your IT people contact our IT people, and we'll make all of this work. And so what you can do if you go through your district, we can incorporate Econ Lowdown through your existing Canvas account, and you can access all of our materials through Canvas and use all of those features. One thing I do want to say before I forget is that, like Todd pointed out, we have a lot of resources from around the Federal Reserve System within our portal, and you can access all of those through the resource gallery. And I'm just going to name some of the banks here because I like to make sure that I do so, and hopefully I don't miss any. Obviously, we have St. Louis, but we have a strong presence with the Atlanta Fed, Philadelphia Fed, Kansas City, Richmond, and the Board of Governors, including some of the currency education materials, video Q&As behind the portal, and as I mentioned, Philadelphia, but they're the Fed and You series, we have their videos and lesson modules behind our portal as well. Atlanta's website has been newly updated. Just as a heads up, I didn't put any screenshots from Atlanta on my presentation, but know that they've launched their new website as well. And Dallas too has a number of resources that you can order that are available in classroom sets, including Navigate and Building Wealth are a couple just to think about. So keep those folks in mind as well. We all work together and have a good contacts among the banks. So if you want to reach out to somebody in your district and you don't know who that person is, just contact one of us and we're happy to help you connect with them. So once you've logged into the portal, you can see my name there. Glad to see you're spending your free time with us. Boy, isn't that true when you're a teacher? Your free time does get taken up with stuff for school, doesn't it? So Graham, if you can go to the next slide, I'm going to show you how we would create a new class. There are two ways to do so. You can do this with Google single sign-on or using our traditional Econ Lowdown classroom login. In the difference between these two, Google, the students, you would just give them a code and they're able to basically sign themselves into your class with the code that you give them via email, via a link that you can email, or just give them the link on paper. And the Econ Lowdown login, our system generates a username and password for the students that they can log in with. So it's your preference. This Google Schools, Google Classroom, a lot of folks use that. If your students are 13 years of age or older, we can actually store their email addresses so that you can send follow-up emails to them. If they're under 13, we can't keep their emails, and that's because of FERPA, obviously, but you can create the Econ Lowdown logins, and there's really no student data at all required for that. You could list them as student 1, 2, 3, 4, however you wanted to do it, and they could still access the materials. because you would have a double blind situation with your grade book. So just know that both of those options are available. Once you've created a class, you'll add resources to it through our resource gallery, and that's on the next slide. Since the time I made these screenshots, that 490 is now something like 515 or 520. Again, they're resources from all over the Fed system, as well as some other outside organizations, one of which is Planet Money, that I'm sure some of you have heard of. That is a very popular podcast that we have created some audio Q&As behind our portal. In addition to podcasts, we have video Q&As. So the students watch a short video, answer some questions, and get the scores, and have an opportunity to watch again or retake the video, retake the quiz. We also have modules, short online courses that students take a pre-test, work their way through the material, and then take a post-test at the end. In that instance, you're able to reset that post-test one time. We did that for teachers who have students with a 504 or something like that. They can reset it one time. If you have a student with unlimited retakes or something like that, you do need to add that student back in as a new student to reset it again, but we do give you that option for the one time. On the next slide, you'll see another resource called Reading Q&A. This is so our RQAs. In these instances, students, they read the material. In this case, it's banking basics, and some of the data about that lesson, whatever that lesson is over on the left. So you see there's a link to a teacher edition, which is the key. There's the number of classes that have watched or used the resource. So 21 classes had used this resource that week at the time I took the screenshot, and then it lists the time required for that. So the students would, in this instance, they'd read through that. They're never more than 2 pages, 2.5 pages, something like that. They read through it, and then they would take a quiz on the material. Graham, the next slide is going to show us the view the student would have. So if properly insured, each of your bank accounts is protected up to, okay, so then the multiple choice answer, and of course that one is 250,000 at this time. Make sure that any bank at which you open an account is a member of the, and then of course the answers there. So students would answer all the questions and then click submit, and then you would receive those scores at the end. The students can, in the reading Q&As, go back and forth. In the audio Q&As, they can go back and forth. And then in the video Q&As, they can go back and forth. And the only ones that are submit and scored automatically and students can't go back are the online modules. What this does for you is it gives you, first of all, options to use these as all of this material as formative or summative assessments. It's up to you. But it also lets you know if students have actually watched the videos or not, you know, how many times they take the quiz. Our system automatically if they retake it, that is, you'll be able to see that. On the next slide, Graham, will be able to see what that looks like to you. So the students, in this case, these are modules, and it shows the pre-test score, the progress through the course, and then the post-test score. If these students, you know, if they had done it and had a retake available, it would just there'd be a button there that says that could be reset. These obviously, the 3 out of 4 of these hadn't done them, but I must have already reset the one I took this screenshot of because it doesn't appear there. But that's why it's at 93%, is because this student has another chance to take the post test. So on the next slide, you'll see the different ways that you can print out or look at that assessment data. The very bottom, that all student report, is a PDF file that you can see all of your students in one PDF file. Excuse me. And you can look at any of these data individually. So audio, video, reading Q&A, things like that. We have a number of these resources available in Spanish, many videos available in Spanish, several of the online modules are, and more to come as we have a couple of Spanish speaking members of our staff who are working on adding more and more content in Spanish. Next slide, please, Graham. One of the nice things about the Econ Lowdown portal is that we give you the option to print a certificate for the student, and you can't probably tell on the screen here, but it does have a nice watermark, so you could print it on a cardstock and then sign that and give them out to the students. Just a nice different way to have an assessment completion certificate rather than a score. Some folks are getting away from scoring everything, right? So this is a nice way to mix it up a little bit. Next slide, please, Graham. And this one should have two little social media plugs here. One is for our Econ Lowdown Facebook page. We do have a Facebook page. We don't harass people on Facebook. We don't spam you, but we do put new lesson plans or workshops, events, things like that. All of our workshops are free. The only cost, of course, is your time and the time it takes to register, but those are on our website. And then on the right, there is our Twitter account. The St. Louis Fed Twitter account serves us as well. So at St. Louis Fed, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll get some information about new events, but you'll also get economic data, research, things like that from St. Louis. Finally, I've got the last slide here lists a couple of our other websites, and the one I wanted to specifically point out for you is the Federal Reserve Economic Data, our FRED site. It's I believe the world's largest economic data aggregator site. So there's lesson plans there for teachers. And if you have any questions on how to use that, you can certainly reach out to me. And with that, I'm going to turn things back over to my colleague, Graham.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And thank you to all of our other presenters for sharing some of the resources with the teachers today. Again, we want to stress all of the materials that you saw today are free. So please contact any one of the presenters, contact myself, contact your regional bank, and we will most certainly put you in the right spot to get the things that you need for your classroom. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our next Econnections webinar is scheduled for September the 14th. And we hope to see you not just at that event, but at all of the other events happening throughout the Federal Reserve System throughout the school year. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you all for what you do for your students.